Hello. Hi, everybody. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Um, so, um, I don't know if you have been able um, to read the blog, the post that I did today in the blog, because I did it, I don't know, 1 hour ago. So maybe you hadn't the time. But anyway, you will do it later for sure, and and you will complement it with my chat for today. And today's topic is the moon. So, do you remember that? Do you remember that in the first day we spoke? I explained about the locations of all the planets, the solar system, and how the gravity of these planets affect us if much more if they are closer, and they affect us less if they are far away. They're much more subtle. The connection that we have with them much more subtle. So well, um, when I was explaining this, now you can understand that the moon is um, uh, the wait is the how do you say it, luminary, the kind of star that affect us the most because it's the one that is closer to us, is the closest to our planet. It is only 350,000 kilometers away from Earth. So nothing. It's just nothing. Okay. So it's so close that it is for us even much more important in our life than the sun. The sun is a little bit farther, so the moon is even much more important for us in this planet than the sun. Also, something really important is that we also have been speaking about the importance of the light traveling in between the stars and in between the satellites and the planets. So the reflection of the light in the planets and the shining, the brightness of a star takes a long way to get into our planets, like many years, many light years. Well, so the moon, the light that comes from the moon to the Earth, it takes only 1 second. So when the light arrives to the moon, and it reflect in the moon towards us, it takes from the moon to the Earth only 1 minute to get, only 1 second to come here. So that, and its light is here. That's why it's the closest one. So something that for some people maybe is obvious, but for many other people maybe it's not yet. The moon doesn't have its own light. Okay, like any planet, like any satellite, the moon reflects the light of the sun. So the light of the sun goes towards all the planets, the satellites, and all these photons, particles of light that goes to the moon, reflect on the moon and comes to the Earth. So what we see of the moon is basically the reflection of the light of the sun. Something also that I guess is good to explain is that the planets and the satellites, they don't have their own light. The light that we see from the planets, that we also project in other planets, is a reflection. So it's the sun that has the light, and we reflect that light. So this means that we don't have our inner brightness. So this means that we are just that the satellites and the planets, we are aspects of the personality that are used, that are tools for the being that is enlightened. Okay, so are parts of our they are parts of our subconscious, our unconscious, all the different tools that we have to become an aware being. Okay. So something to understand before we speak about the moon is the difference between a planet and a satellite. A planet is this errant being that goes around a sun. Okay, so a planet has either if it is made of gas or if it is made of rocks, it has a magnetical field so powerful that is able to hold its own gravitational orbit around the sun, around a star. Okay, so a planet is moving around a star and has its own power of magnetical field. And a satellite doesn't have a strong magnetical field. It's lower, it's much more poor in magnetism, so it doesn't have the power to be around a star, but it can be pulled by the gravitational field of a planet. So a planet, a satellite is pulled by the magnetical field of a planet and spins around this planet. Okay, moving that is moving around the sun. So a planet is moving around the sun, and a satellite is moving around a planet. So satellite is the way in which we call these rocks around the planets. Important to know that our satellite its name is Moon. Okay, Moon, Luna in Spanish. In the same way as the star is called the sun, our star is called the sun, our satellite is called the moon. So of other planets has also satellites, but they are not called moons. They are called with their names. For example, Mars has two tiny satellites that are called Phobos and Deimos. Okay, so these are two rocks that are around this planet, and they are not called moons, they are called Phobos and Deimos. Okay, so moon is only one, and it is in planet Earth. So if you ask me, I will tell you this before we start with all explanation of the moon. The moon is not artificial. The moon is not a hologram. The moon is real. You can touch it, you can go, you can you can see that it's there, that it's real, and it has been with the Earth from the very beginning, billions and billions of years ago. So it's natural, it's there. And the reason why it's natural and why it's not a hologram is because the gravity of the moon is the one that makes us exist. Without the moon, we are all dead. And not only that, without the moon, we wouldn't have been alive in the first time. We cannot exist without the moon. And now I'm going to explain why. So I know that there's many people saying that the moon is that the moon is a hologram or was created to control humans from the space and so on. But we have to know that from the very beginning, in the origin of our humanity, the carvings of describing the moon and the cycles of the moon always has been there. So it's not something from now, it's not something created in this past time. So also the movements of the planet, the axis of the planet, the tides of the planet, everything is connected with the moon. Okay, so the dust, the stones, there are many things of the moon here on the planet, and many things to prove the connection with the moon in this world. So we have to understand that the moon has been with the Earth from the very beginning. If you take the whole screen here, where I find myself now, as the history of the planet, usually the moon has been most of this space, okay? And we humans has been only here with the size of a bacteria here on the last spot of the screen, okay? So if you take the whole history, it's so tiny, our presence in the planet, that thinking that we put a moon for billions of years just to take care of these few people here, it's not like that. I'm sorry, but I will be much more Capricornian now. Let's try to get out of our ego. Humans, we are not so important. We are just an evolutionary option of this planet. That's it. We are not the center of everything. Okay, so just let's try to go out from our ego for a moment, and it's not all about us. Okay, just to relax, and we are just an option. Okay, it's not everything about us. So let's go to the very beginning of how it's this moon created. So let's go to the origin of our planet. In the very beginning, the Earth was basically like Venus. Venus is like hell, physical hell. So the Earth was like that, with the fire, with lava, and all of that. So in the formation of the galaxy, there were so many pieces flying around that they were hitting each other and trying to form the planets that we know today. So there were many pieces that were called planetoids. Planetoids is not a planet, not a satellite. Why? Because it's like kind of a planet, but it doesn't have an orbit, a fixed orbit. So it's looking for where to stay. It doesn't know exactly where it belongs yet. So it's kind of a planet, but it's not a planet. Okay, a planetoid has the idea of a planet. So the moon was like that, was a planetoid moving around in the solar system with many others, billions of it. Bigger, smaller, different rocks that were hitting the main planets. And when one of them has a core magnetical field, the other ones were hitting, the smaller ones were hitting and maybe creating crashes and chaos, and then all coming back and creating like a sphere. Okay, so this was shaping the planets that we know today. Okay, so one of these biggest planetoids was the moon. So in the very beginning of the formation of the planet, there was not only one moon. For sure, there were 2, 3, 4, and more moons around the planet, and most of them were forming the Earth right now. So for sure, in the first moment, we had much more moons, but satellites, but they weren't. But there was not life here. So there's good things to know about this physically, about the moon. When the moon was trapped in the Earth, it was because its gravitational field was strong enough to have its own axis spinning around the Earth, but low enough in order to be trapped by the magnetic field of the Earth. So that's why we have a moon. Okay. But the moon is spinning around very fast in the first time, very fast. Okay. And this spinning also, this spinning makes also that the axis of the moon is spinning faster. But as much time happens, as farther it goes, as much time happens, the moon is going away from the planet, from the Earth. So it's getting farther and farther. So in the times of the dinosaurs, for example, the moon was closer to the Earth, and now it's farther. So in billions of years in the future, the moon will be really far. Approximately 3 centimeters per year, it's going away. So it seems nothing, but of course, eventually it will go away. So in this movement of the moon going away, the moon starts to go lower, stops to spin so fast around the planet and on its axis. So it's slower and slower each time is going away. So right now, the spinning of the moon is around 27.5 Earth days, which is exactly the same amount of days that the moon takes to go all around the planet. So we spin in 24 hours. The moon spins in 27 days. And the moon goes around the planet in 28 days. So this is why we never see the other face of the moon, the dark side of the moon. We don't see it but it doesn't mean that the moon is not spinning. It's just that in the same time that the moon is spinning, we are going with it. Okay, so that's why we always see the same face. But in the dinosaur times, the moon was spinning differently, so we could see, well, the dinosaurs could see a different face of the moon. And in the future, for sure, in billions of years, some people will be able to see that other side of the moon. Another important thing about the moon is that it's protecting us all the time, because the gravity of the moon helps to protect us from asteroids and comets. All the big rocks that are going around usually are being pulled by the gravity of the moon, so they go outside. So in the very early moment of the Earth, in the creation of the Earth, it was very important to have a moon in order for asteroids and comets not to fall constantly on the Earth. So the moon is like kind of taking away all these asteroids. And all the craters that you can see in the moon are many of those that were falling in the moon during the creation of the planet. So, sorry, in English. So another important thing about this that the moon does for the Earth, protecting it from all the rest of the comets and asteroids, is that it allowed the planet Earth to make its own process inside without being interrupted by asteroids and comets every time. So it helped the Earth to make the chemical reactions to create water. So the water turned off all the fires, turned off the lava, and it created the oceans. So the mix with the chemicals of the volcanoes and the waters created life, something that I already spoke in another videos. So the moon is the one that allowed life to be possible on Earth, and is the satellite that still today allows that. We owe the life to the moon. So another thing really important on the physical way in which the moon affects us is that the moon is inside the gravitational field of the planet of Earth. So the Earth is kind of like holding the moon like this with the gravity, and it spins like dancing all around. So the Earth and the moon are touched by the magnetical field. And this is why the movement of the moon is also moving the Earth. The spinning of the Earth is also somehow because of the moon. And the magnetical field of the Earth is moved also by the power of the moon. So, one of the things that the gravity of the moon is moving on Earth are the things that are much more subtle in the planet. So it means the things that the atoms are much more spread. For example, when we speak about minerals, the minerals has all the atoms with so much weight that are attracted to the core of the planet. But the water and the atmosphere are much more wide and spread. So that's why the magnetical field of the planet and the gravitational weight of the moon affect them much more because they are much more subtle. So this is why the tides of the ocean, the movement of the waves, the flow of the water, the low and high pressure of the atmosphere, the storms, the lightnings are all connected to the movement of the moon. So in such a way, we can relate the moon like this witch or sacred woman that is moving the, how do you say, the pottery of life on Earth, moving the waters, the electricity that is needed to create and manifest life. So the moon is like, by its gravity and spinning around the Earth, moving this pottery, okay, creating this alchemy of life. So if this is like that, every living being that are connected to the mother cells of the ocean from the very beginning, our biorhythm, which is the cycles of life, our biorhythms are all connected to the moon. So by billions of years of life in this planet, our life is bounded and connected to the cycles of the moon. Our biorhythm is literally the rhythm of the moon. So the moon, and we humans, we can tell that biorhythm for sure because the moon takes 28 days to make a whole turn around the Earth, which is exactly the same amount of days that the women needs to make the fertile cycle of menstruation. This is why we relate the moon with the mother. So from the very beginning, the moon is the one moving our cycles of life, the reproduction. Two cells, one cell becoming two and expanding and creating life. So this is why the cycles of the moon are controlling our sexuality, our reproduction cycle in every animal of the planet. So in different ways, the sexuality, the process of giving birth will be always related with the day, with the night, with the moon. And this is why we call the moon the Great Mother. It was the mother of all. This this made the moon much more important than the sun, because the sun is always rising the horizon, even if we have these moments of equinoxes and solstices. It's the cycle of the moon that was able to tell the humans how to handle the time, really, because it's because of the cycles of the moon that they could see when the fruits were growing, when the flowers were blossoming, when the female were reproductive, when we were much more able to think better, where we can travel better, when it's better to hunt, so many things, that that the moon represented for the daily life of humans. That for them the sun was always there, but the moon was telling how to do the things and when to do the things. So this is why the humans started to divide the year, in the process of the moon, in the month of the moon, because in this way they were able to explain the life, to know how to handle life. So they had a moon calendar to know the rhythm of life. A civilization that lives its life according to the rhythms of the moon is a civilization that is able to live in balance, in harmony with its vital energy. Is this why in Greece they call at the moon monas? That means the unity of time. So this is why in the past they started to divide the year in monas. So monads, that means unities of time. Okay, so that's the origin of the name month. Month in English is the origin of the name. It comes from the word monad, that is the divisions of the cycles of time according to the moon. Okay, so that's 13 months of 28 days each, every cycle of the moon. That's why in English we say moon to the moon, because moon comes from month, and month comes from monas, that is the unity of time. In Greece they call the moon Selene. Selene is comes from the word light, that is celas, and celas is the light, and selene is the one that brights with its light, the one that shines. Also was known as the one that shines as white, because the moon shines like white color. So that's why also they would call it leugnas, leugnaus. Also it was called leugnas, and leugnas comes from the Greek word white, and that's the origin of the word leukocytes, or white cells. The white cells, leukemia, leuk, that name is white. So in Spanish, well, in Latin, actually, leugnas, in the Romans couldn't say ca, so they say leunas, and that's why we in Spanish have the word luna for the moon, which means white light. So this is why psychologically we relate the mother with the moon. And this is because through thousands of years, the mother was designed to be fertile during the cycles of the moon. So I have been born, we all have been born because of the fertile period of our mothers. Without the moon, we wouldn't have that. So this is why the moon is related directly with the period of the mother, so our life. So also remember that we are 70% water. So the water is moved by the moon. So in the same way as the moon moves the tides, the waves of the planet on its spinning around the world, it also moves our inner waters. So this is why through blood, the moon is related with our cycles of emotions, how we feel, if we feel alterated, if we feel like, if we feel that we are mad or crazy or angry, or those kind of things, but also happy, quiet. Every emotion, everything that we are is related with the cycles of the moon. So depending on how we live our lives, if we are balanced or not, the moon will be affecting us in one way or another. Also, this is why in agriculture they use the cycles of the moon, because depending on the moon, you can sow, you can harvest, because you will have abundance if you do it properly with the moon, because the plants absorb much more water during that certain process of the moon. So this is why maybe we think that is out there, is far away, but even though is the satellite that affects us the most, because it's really close and is pushing us in our process of controlling the food, the cycles of our fertility, our emotions, our cultures, the commerce. Everything is controlled by the moon. So this is why it's weird to think that the moon is not there, is a hologram or something created, because if the gravity of the moon wouldn't be there, we wouldn't be here speaking right now. So where we find the conflict that we have today as humanity, where, well, a few centuries ago, we stopped using the moon calendar to use only the solar calendar. And the solar calendar is not related with things of life. It's related with transcendental concepts. It's related to things that you cannot touch, that are much more from the inside. are related with the enlightenment, related to the sun, are related with the inner concepts that holds the constellations. So we have these 12 months regarding our inner and transcendental process of the divine. But that is so far away from our life that we are not in balance because we live our time in something that is not real. So the problem that we have today is that the calendar that we use is not related to our daily life, is related with the inner process. This is why it's important to use again a calendar related to the moon, a lunar calendar, so we can be really aligned with the process of Earth. So for the daily days, we use the moon calendar. For the transcendental process, we use the solar calendar. I hope that you can understand now the moon from another perspective. So we are so disconnected to the moon that we don't even know how to use the calendar of the moon. So just pay attention to when the moon is full. The full moon is the moment that tells you this is the new beginning. So just follow every full moon, 28 days. So we have new moon, which is when the moon is not there. It's all black. And we have the full moon, which is when you see the whole face of the moon. So in the new moon is when we start things. In the full moon is when we close things. So this Saturday, February 27th, is the full moon in Virgo. So it means the closure of a process that began in the new moon of Virgo 6 months ago. So this new moon, this full moon, is the one that tells us you have to make a review of all the things that you accomplished to order in this past 6 months. So, which I expect for it to be many things that were put in order because we are working for this all the time. So in this past 6 months. So I think that with this was a summary of the moon. So I recommend you to start to live your daily life through the moon calendar. The vibration for today is Dia, related to the solar plexus. The statement for today is I am the balance of the being. The code for today is future. It is the beginning of the universe. Everything was in the beginning of the universe, everything was an intention. This means that before the first particle or wave existed, everything in the universe was mind, intention, potentiality, which in terms of time, it's translated as future. The future is high vibration. This means everything that moves so fast that can't be reached or perceived or seen. It's out of our perception and disperses in so many directions that can't be categorized. The future is not only one, it's all the possible ones happening in an instant. Let's go to the alignment. Sit comfortable Close your eyes and concentrate in your breathing. I become aware of each part of my body, caressing it, stretching it, and yawning. I take a deep breath as I start to be aware of the body I find myself in, of the room I am now, the house, the village or city, the country, the continent, and the planet. I take a deep breath, becoming fully aware that I am this body. I take a deep breath, becoming the room. I take a deep breath, becoming the house where I find myself. I take a deep breath, becoming the town, the city where I find myself. I take a deep breath, becoming the country. I take a deep breath, becoming the continent. I take a deep breath, becoming the planet. I am the earth. And in front of me, I see the light of the sun, feeling the heat on my body. I can feel the moon spinning around me. I perceive Mars, Venus, and Mercury close to me. A bit far, Jupiter and Saturn. And in the horizon, Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto. I take a deep breath and I recognize that I am the solar system. And I concentrate right now in the moon spinning around me. As the moon spins around me, I can see all its phases, from the full moon till the new moon, all of them. As I see the moon spinning around my body, I feel the gravity of it pushing my body to spin, following the circle, being pulled by its gravity from the solar plexus. As I spin with the moon, I can perceive how it moves my inner water, my emotions, the rhythm of my life. I recognize that the force of the moon moves my life from the very moment of my conception till the moment of my death. It rules all what I am. My being exists because of the moon. From this movement from my plexus, I can feel that from my mom, from every human, from every animal, plant, and even bacteria, we are all connected as one under the light of the moon. We are one in its light. And as I move myself in circles with the forces of the moon, I connect myself to every living being on the planet Earth. And I recognize that if I am willing to live in balance with coherence of myself in the axis of my being, I need to learn to live according to the rhythm of the moon. I take a deep breath and activate the balance of my being. I am the balance of the being. I am the balance of the being. I am the balance of the being. I am the moon. I know that I am. I manifest the intention of activating the wisdom in me. I am wisdom. Take a deep breath, and from the plexus, I start to bring this consciousness all over my body, stretching, caressing, and yawning. And each one in its own time, come back here and now. Thank you everybody for being here as always, and see you tomorrow at the same time.